I want to start today by asking you to just walk into a specific room in your house. Or maybe it's just a corner of your mind.
Mm.
I call it the graveyard of good intentions. You know the place I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. It's a crowded room for a lot of people.
It's where you keep the acoustic guitar you played for, what, 3 weeks in 2018?
Right. It's full of half-written novels, Rosetta Stone subscriptions that never got past HOLA,
And business plans drawn on napkins that are now just, gathering dust.
Exactly.
And the worst part isn't the wasted money, it's the feeling, right? It's that heavy nagging sensation that you're just flaky.
Or lazy. Or scatterbrained.
Yeah, we tell ourselves all that. But we're looking at a stack of research today that says, actually, there might be a very specific architectural reason for that graveyard.
It is not a moral failing. Not necessarily. It's often a psychological configuration. We are digging into a report on high-dyne project management strategies. This is based on the DiSC assessment model, which, has been around since the 1920s. It stems from the work of Dr. William Moulton Marston.
And we are focusing specifically on one profile today, the high die. That stands for
high dominance and high influence.
Right. High D, high I.
In the corporate world, you'll hear these people called achievers or producers or even rainmakers.
And here's the paradox, right? This is the thing we need to unpack. These are high energy people. They're ambitious, fast-paced, innovative.
They're the ones who start the companies. But, and this is the key, they are statistically the most likely to struggle with actually finishing what they start.
That feels like a massive contradiction. How can you be called a producer if you don't actually produce the final result?
Because they're masters of motion, but not always momentum.
They generate a lot of heat, but not always a lot of light.
That's a great way of putting it.
Okay, that hits a little close to home.
Yeah.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how to bridge that gap. We want to move from being a chronic starter,
someone who collects hobbies like Pokemon cards.
Yes, to being a disciplined finisher. And I don't want the usual advice. Don't tell me to buy a planner. I've bought 10 planners. They're in the graveyard too.
We are definitely not going to talk about color coding your calendar. We need to look at the neurology and the psychology of why this specific brain type chases the shiny object.
And then use frameworks that work with that grain, not against it.
Exactly.
Let's look under the hood then. What is actually happening in the high die brain? Why is it wired this way?
You have to look at the two drivers separately. So first you have the D dominance.
Okay.
This part of the personality is driven by results, by control, and by winning. It wants the bottom line, and it wants it yesterday.
So that's the engine. That's the let's go energy.
That's the part of you that says, I want to build an empire. Then you have the I influence.
Right.
This is motivated by social approval, by novelty, optimism, and fun. It wants the applause. It wants the big reveal.
So one part of the brain wants to conquer the world, and the other part wants to throw a launch party about it.
That is a perfect way to put it. The report uses an analogy of a car. The high die has a massive motor drive.
They move fast, talk fast, decide fast.
But their priority drive, the steering wheel, is loose. It oscillates.
What do you mean?
Sometimes the D is steering towards tasks and efficiency, but then the I grabs the wheel and steers toward people, fun, and new ideas.
So you're driving a Ferrari at 100 miles an hour, but you keep swerving between get work done and let's go hang out.
And that swerving causes what the source material calls the detail deficit.
The detail deficit.
Well, think about it. The D is looking at the horizon, the vision. The I is looking at the crowd, the audience.
So who's watching the road right in front of the tires?
Nobody.
Nobody. Who's looking at the potholes, the gas gauge, or the map? The boring stuff is invisible.
And that is why projects die. They don't die because the vision was bad. They die in the messy middle because the high die brain literally filters out the boring data required to execute.
I want to drill down on the chemistry of this because the outline mentions a dopamine trap. Is this just, standard ADHD stuff, or is it specific to this profile?
It overlaps, but the mechanism here is about reward prediction error. See, high die types they're sensation seekers. When you have a new idea, say, I'm going to start a podcast about underwater basket weaving, your brain releases a massive spike of dopamine.
Just from thinking about it.
Just from the anticipation of the success. You get the high of the win, that's the D, and the high of the popularity, that's the I, instantaneously.
So you're chemically cashing the check before you've done a single minute of work.
You've got it.
That explains so much. That's why buying the domain name feels like such an accomplishment. I feel like I've already done the thing.
The problem is once you buy the domain and the microphone, the novelty fades. The dopamine levels drop.
And now you have to do the editing. You have to upload the file.
Which is low dopamine work. To the die brain, that feels like pain. It registers as a low reward environment.
Yeah.
So what does the brain do to fix that drop?
It scans the horizon for a new idea to get the spike back.
It's a survival mechanism. You aren't quitting because you're lazy. You're quitting because you're unconsciously hunting for the next neurochemical hit.
Which makes us incredibly innovative, but also...
It's incredibly flaky.
So, knowing that our brain is actively trying to sabotage us with new ideas, how do we stop it? The source material talks about a gatekeeper.
This is the most critical takeaway for the die profile. You do not have a time management problem.
It's a selection problem.
It's a selection problem. You are letting too many ships into the harbor.
Because we're optimistic, we think we can do it all.
The optimism bias in high eyes it's off the charts. You genuinely believe you can write a book, start a business, and train for a marathon all in the same month.
So we need a filter.
We need to install a filter. The framework here is called the idea dock.
I love this visual. So imagine my brain is a busy port.
Okay, and every new idea is a ship appearing on the horizon. The instinct for a high die is to immediately let the ship dock, unload the cargo, and start selling it.
Oh, cool idea. Let's do it now.
Exactly.
I wake up on a Saturday. I decide I want to start a gourmet mushroom farm. I'm on Amazon ordering stores before I've even had coffee.
The idea dock changes the protocol. The rule is the ship must sit in the harbor at anchor for a mandatory cooling off period.
How long?
The research suggests 7 days.
7 days? Hold on. If I have a brilliant idea, isn't waiting 7 days just killing the momentum? I feel like if I don't act on that energy now, I'll lose it.
You are confusing momentum with manic excitement.
Ouch.
If the idea dies after 7 days because you didn't buy the spores immediately, it wasn't a business idea, it was a dopamine distraction.
So the 7 days is a stress test.
It's a filtration system.
Yeah.
You write the idea down, you put it in the dock, and you let it sit. During those 7 days, the I-style enthusiasm will naturally fade because the novelty wears off.
And then what?
After a week, you look at it again with your D-style logic. You ask, is this actually profitable? Do I actually want to clean mushroom dirt out of my basement?
Does this align with my yearly goals?
Right. And if the answer is no, you send the ship back to sea. You decommission it. You will find that 90% of the ships you would have previously let in get turned away.
Okay, but what about the ships that get through? Even if I filter the bad ideas, I still have too many good ideas. I'm looking at my to-do list right now, and everything on it feels essential. This is where the report brought up Moscow prioritization.
Moscow is an acronym. Must have, should have, could have, and won't have.
Standard stuff.
It's standard project management, but there is a specific constraint applied here that usually freaks people out. It's the 60% rule.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The report says we should only book must-haves for 60% of our available time.
Right.
I have to be honest, that sounds lazy. If I tell my boss or my investors, hey, I'm only planning to work at 60% capacity, I'm going to get fired.
And yet, if you plan for 100% capacity, you are guaranteeing failure. Here's why. You are a high die. You are a chaos magnet.
A chaos magnet.
You love new things. You attract interruptions. You constantly pivot. That is your nature. The chaos is a feature, not a bug.
So if I book myself solid back-to-back meetings, 8 hours of tasks, I have zero buffer.
Zero. The moment one crisis happens or one exciting new opportunity pops up that you have to take, the entire schedule collapses. You start dropping balls, you miss deadlines.
And then comes the shame spiral.
Exactly. The 40% buffer isn't for doing nothing. It is for the messy reality.
Yeah.
It's for the unexpected phone call. It's for the sudden burst of inspiration.
Okay, so it's for absorbing the chaos without derailing the must-haves.
It's strategic slack, and it forces you to be ruthless. If your must-have list is taking up 80% of your week, you have to move things to won't have.
You have to actually say, I am not doing this, which is painful for the I because we want to please everyone.
And that's essential for the D if you want to actually win.
Okay, so we've filtered the ideas, we've carved out our 60%, now we're in the work, we're in the mud. How do we survive the messy middle without quitting?
The source material leans heavily on the concept of the MVP, the minimum viable product.
We hear this in tech all the time. Build the skateboard before you build the car. But how is this a psychological trick?
Well, think about what the D and the I need. The D needs a result. It needs to cross the finish line.
Okay.
The I needs feedback. It needs people to see what they've done. If you have a 6-month project plan, you are asking a D to walk through a desert for 6 months with no water.
No applause, no results. They'll quit in month 2 because they're bored and lonely.
Exactly. The MVP strategy shrinks the horizon. Instead of saying, I'm going to write a novel, which takes a year, you say,
I'm going to write a short story set in that world and publish it on a blog next week.
yes. You create a finish line that you can actually see. And when you hit publish, the D gets the win, I finished something, and the I gets the social feedback. People are reading it.
That refuels the dopamine tank.
So you can keep going.
But wait, there's a flip side to this. I think a lot of high dies avoid the MVP because of fear. If I launch a minimum version, it might not be perfect. It might be average. And the high I part of me is terrified of looking bad.
That is the perfectionism trap. The I wants to be admired. They fear that if they put out something half-baked, people will reject them.
Right.
But the report argues that failing fast is actually better for this personality type. You are resilient. You bounce back fast.
So it's less painful to launch a bad blog post and hear crickets than it is to spend 2 years writing a masterpiece that nobody wants.
You have to reframe the MVP. It's not a test of your worth.
It's a test of the market.
Exactly.
That brings us to the day-to-day grind. The report uses the Eisenhower Matrix here, urgent versus important, but it says we get stuck.
The urgency trap. High die types live in Quadrant 1, which is urgent and important, and Quadrant 3.
Urgent, but not important.
Right. Quadrant 3 is the killer.
That's the loud stuff, the Slack notifications, the random, hey, do you have a minute requests.
And why do you think you're drawn to those?
Because it feels like I'm a hero. I'm putting out fires. Look at me. I solved the problem. It feels productive.
It feels productive, but it's actually just another form of shiny object syndrome. It's stimulating. Deep work quadrant 2 is stuff like strategic planning or writing code.
It's quiet work. It doesn't ping you. It doesn't applaud you.
And that silence is terrifying for a high die. They will subconsciously sabotage their deep work time by checking email just to find a fire to put out so they can feel that rush of activity.
So if I catch myself answering emails when I should be writing a proposal, I'm actually just looking for a dopamine hit.
You are avoiding the boredom of importance. The advice is to treat quadrant 2 time like a meeting with a VIP. You have to schedule it, and you have to shut off the fires during that block.
You have to be willing to let the phone ring. Let's talk about tools, because I know people are waiting for the hacks. But I want to start with a confession. I change to-do list apps probably once a month.
You and every other high die.
I'll spend 3 days setting up a new Notion dashboard, color-coding it, building widgets, and I feel so productive. And then a week later, I abandon it for something else.
The report calls this the tool jumping pitfall. It is classic procrastination disguised as productivity.
Oh, that's harsh.
The new app is shiny. Setting it up is a creative project, that's the high I, but actually using it is boring maintenance. So once the setup is done, you lose interest.
Ouch. That is accurate. So what's the fix?
Pick one tool, any tool, and commit to a 90-day lock-in. You are not allowed to switch.
Does it matter which one?
A little. If your D is stronger, you're a hustler. You want something result-oriented like ClickUp, just lists and checkboxes.
Okay.
If your I is stronger, you need visuals. Trello, Milanote, sticky notes on a wall. But the tool is just a container. The magic is in the commitment.
What about simple habits? Anything tactical for when I just can't get started?
2 things. First, the Pomodoro technique. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off.
Why does that work for us specifically?
Because forever is overwhelming. 25 minutes is a game. The high D can say, I can win a 25-minute sprint.
And the high I knows, in 25 minutes, I get a break to check Instagram.
It gamifies the focus.
Yeah.
And then there's the 15-minute rule.
Or overcoming inertia.
Exactly. The hardest part is starting. You just tell yourself, I will just do this expense report for 15 minutes, then I can quit.
It's a lie we tell ourselves, isn't it?
It's a useful lie. Once you start, the D drive engages. You get into the flow, you want to finish, but you'll never get there if you look at the whole mountain.
Now, there's one last piece of the puzzle that I think is the most important. We've talked about managing yourself, but the research suggests that eventually a high die simply shouldn't fly solo.
Right. Collaborative dynamics. This is the secret weapon. The high die is the starter. You are the gas pedal.
But a car also needs brakes.
And a steering stabilizer. You need to pair with S-types for steadiness and C-types for conscientiousness.
Okay, let's be real though. C-types drive me crazy. These are the people who, when I have a great new idea, immediately ask, what's the budget?
Or have you thought about the compliance issues?
That font size is wrong. It feels like they are popping my balloon.
I know. It feels like they are being negative. But you have to reframe that relationship. They aren't trying to stop you. They're trying to keep you from driving off a cliff.
So when Karen from accounting is asking a million questions, she's not being a hater. She's doing the C work that I'm incapable of doing.
Precisely. The die provides the vision and the energy. The C provides the quality control and the details. The S provides the consistency to keep the project moving when you get bored.
So don't hire a clone of yourself.
Never. If you hire another high die, you'll just have amazing brainstorming sessions for 4 hours, drink a lot of coffee, and accomplish absolutely nothing.
It will be a very fun bankruptcy.
Yes, it will. You need to hire the people who annoy you slightly with their attention to detail. That friction is where the value is.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on the outro concept from the outline. There's a specific mental trap called projection bias.
This is the lie that keeps the graveyard full. Projection bias is the belief that your future self will feel exactly the way your current self feels.
Next week, I'll have way more energy. Next week, I won't be tired.
Right. You have an idea on Sunday when you're rested and caffeinated. You commit to a huge project. You assume that Wednesday you will be just as excited.
But Wednesday you is going to be tired, stressed, and dragging. Wednesday me hates Sunday me.
Exactly. So you have to plan for Wednesday you. You have to assume your future self will have low energy and low willpower.
Which is why the idea doc and the 60% rule are not about being lazy.
They are about being kind to your future self. You're protecting them from drowning in commitments they can't handle.
That is such a powerful shift. It's not about discipline, it's about empathy for your own future.
And setting up the guardrails so you can actually succeed.
So let's recap the battle plan. We are auditing the graveyard. We're using the idea doc to filter out the dopamine distractions.
We are using the 60% rule to leave room for chaos.
And we are building MVPs to get those quick wins. Audit, doc, and MVP.
That is the framework.
I want to leave you with a challenge today. I want you to look at that must-have list on your desk. Be honest with yourself. If you tried to do all of that, would it take 100% of your energy? If the answer is yes, you are setting yourself up to crash. You're driving without a buffer. So here is the question. Which ship in your harbor needs to be sent back out to sea today? Which project do you need to look at and say, not now, so that the really important ones can actually reach the shore?
Choose wisely.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Now, go finish something.